Ahoy there, this be the teal flea.
And Legends Became Myth here. Today, we have our top 5 Jedi list. So, I will start us off. So, my number 5 is Jolee Bindo.
Really?
Yep. Now, he's from the Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR for short. Jolee Bindo ends up becoming more of a gray Jedi, I guess you could say. He does end up helping Revan save the galaxy from Malak, so he kind of has a light side twitch to, turn to him. But Jolee adds a lot of the story for KOTOR, because if you try to ask him things, he always snaps at you. He's like, "What are you doing?" Or "What are you bothering this old man for?" Those kind of things. But he ends up, if you talk to him more, he'll end up giving story about his life. He was apparently a kind of didn't really follow the Jedi Council that much, and he always give him problems early on. One time he ended up trying to save this planet because the Jedi Council wouldn't help out with food crates and stuff. So he ended up becoming a Robin Hood character, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then, anyways, he ends up going to Kashyyyk. You find him in KOTOR on Kashyyyk in the Shadowlands. You go down and you end up finding him there. He's fighting a whole bunch of some kind of creature. I forget what creatures they were.
Oh yeah, the attack creature, or not attack.
Yeah,
creatures,
yeah.
He's
fighting.
Those were the little monkey things.
Yeah, not the monkey ones, but the other creatures that were around there. Yeah, those monkey things were annoying, by the way. But yeah, so you find him there, and then he ends up following you, and then he ends up wanting to join you, and so he leaves the Shadowlands, and then he helps you defeat Malak in the end, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, well, he adds a lot of story to it. Then you go in to find his friend on Manon, and I think Sunray is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you do the whole. I always like that part. You do go to court, and if you're dark side, you can he's actually the murderer or whatever. But if you're dark side, you can get him off the hook or whatever.
Yeah.
and then you all find out what'd you do that for? All your friends or whatever. What'd you do that for?
It's he's definitely guilty.
Yeah, he's definitely guilty. But yeah, so I thought that character is pretty cool.
That was your number 5. So my number 5 is this might be a big shocker to you. My number 5 is actually going to be Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I almost didn't put him on my list. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, when you think of Star Wars, Darth Vader is probably the number 1 person that comes to mind. And then Luke Skywalker is probably your number 2 that comes to mind.
Oh yeah, easy second. And I think probably Yoda after that. Yeah.
So so the reason why I almost didn't put him on is because he's kind of whiny at the beginning. He's like, yeah, what?
It's a family trait. It's a family trait.
I was gonna go to Toshi's station to pick up some converters.
Power converters.
Power converters. It's just all right. And then everything goes bad. I mean, his aunt and uncle kind of get burned to a crisp. Yeah. And then that's changed. It kind of matures from there. So, well,
don't forget who actually killed them. It was done by Imperial stormtroopers. They're very accurate. The only time they're very accurate in all of Star Wars.
But yeah, then so he destroys the Death Star, which is pretty clutch. I mean, use the Force, Luke, and then you get super lucky. I guess you can't say it's luck. It's destiny, right?
Yeah. Obi-Wan's first, or Ben Kenobi's first line to Han Solo when he says, "There's no such thing as luck." Yeah,
there's no such thing as luck. Another thing I like about Luke is he's not really that good at the beginning. He definitely, episode 5, he has to do that a lot of training with Yoda. You can kind of see him slowly getting better with the Force. That's why I like that. You kind of see him become more powerful over time, but it definitely takes a lot of work from him. And then in episode 6, I always liked the full black outfit with the green lightsaber. You can definitely tell he's way better in episode 6.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Yeah, from the thing from the 5th one to the 6th one, the difference between his power is actually pretty cool. Yeah.
And then in Legends, then after Return of the Jedi, he starts the new Jedi Order, builds the Jedi Academy on Yavin. So I definitely like that part about it.
I like him in Jedi Outcast.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool when you see him there. He has the whole academy.
Yeah, he's got the academy on Yavin. And I like that. What I like is that in Return of the Jedi, like the idea is that he's the last Jedi, but he brings the Jedi back. So I like that version of the New Republic and having all the Jedi come back, and he's training them at the temple, the new academy. So yeah, I think Luke Skywalker's my number 5.
That is a classic. Yeah, I would have to say he definitely has to be on one of our lists.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 4 is Qui-Gon Jinn. What I like about him is he's not dogmatic like the rest of the Jedi Council, which is why he never wanted to be on the Jedi Council, I believe. But he may not have been the most powerful Force user, but he understood the Force most of the time, I think, more than the rest of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So he knew how to figure out to communicate with the Force. When he died, he ended up, communicate through it. The first one to do that, which is cool. He didn't turn into a Force ghost, though. I know, actually, now they have it in the Obi-Wan show that he can be a Force ghost now.
Yeah.
But I know before that, he was like, he can only communicate through just the Force. And so he ended up talking to Yoda. He teaches Yoda how to be a Force ghost. And then, obviously, Yoda tells Ben Kenobi. And I thought that was really, really cool. And then also, he's the one that finds the Chosen One. He's the one that finds Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
He must bring balance to the Force. So, and obviously he's done by, his character's played by Liam Neeson, which, how come on?
Great role.
Also, the whole dynamic with him and Obi-Wan in the first, Phantom Menace, and the whole fight between him and Darth Maul.
Yeah, it's the best part of the first movie.
Definitely. I love that fight. Even though he's probably the only Jedi that has died by a saber or a stab.
It's like nowadays, anyone who gets stabbed by a lightsaber that has a heel or
definitely not dead. Well, let's put it this way: Darth Maul gets sliced in half. He's still alive. Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah, it's my number 4.
And my number 4 is also Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah, the thing I liked most about him was, like you said, he figures out immortality with being a Force ghost.
Right.
And like you said, at first he can just kind of talk, like just like a Force voice out in the ether, just talking to people. And then he figures out how to he figures out how to do it fully, and then he can become a Force ghost. And so he trained, like you said, he trained Obi-Wan how to do it on Tatooine, and then he trained Yoda how to do it as well.
Right, yep. Well, I know Yoda tells Obi-Wan that he can communicate with him.
Yeah, so I like that. Pretty much all the Force ghosts, in Episode 6, and any of them that come after that, they all pretty much learn it because of Qui-Gon. I think he figured it out, and I think in the Clone Wars they have it. There's like the will people.
Yeah, the wills.
Yeah, they teach him how to start figuring it out and stuff. So that was something I really liked about him. And of course, Count Dooku was his master. Which I forget about.
Now I love that in Episode 2. He talks about Qui-Gon, he would have joined or whatever. He would have joined him. He always talks highly of you, Obi-Wan.
Count Dooku is actually pretty underrated, I think.
Oh, he is. If he stayed Jedi, he'd probably be on my list for Jedi.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, technically, he was a Jedi, so he could be on our list. No,
maybe he's my number 1.
But I think he was more Sith for longer, or you know him as a Sith for longer, so you can't really put him on the list.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just like you mentioned, he cares more about the balance of the Force. He kind of uses dark side stuff and light side. Not as much as some other people do, but he focuses more on the Force being balanced rather than just one side of it being way too powerful.
Yep.
So, yeah. Qui-Gon Jinn's my number 4. It's funny we both had him for number 4.
Yep. Well, that's pretty good. All right. Number 3. My number 3 is Revan.
Tricky.
Not Darth Revan, but Revan. I already talked about Darth Revan in our top 5 Sith Lords list. I wanted to put him in 4th, but to balance it out, since he's kind of a balance between light and dark. But I had to put him at 3 because he just
that's so very tricky.
Yeah,
I thought that you might put him on there. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Put him on there.
I just like his character so much. I had to put him on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, he's actually more of a Jedi than a Sith. It's just that people call him Darth Revan. They usually just call him Revan.
Right.
Even though he's mostly a Jedi, people view him as a Sith more.
I think they do, yeah. So Jedi Knight Revan was the main Jedi leader of the Old Republic who fought against the Mandalorians in the Mandalorian Wars. The Mandalorians ended up respecting Revan a great deal, which you play Knights of the Republic and you talk to Canderous Ordo, who was a Mandalorian that fought versus Revan and his army, which was, he always talks. You talk to him, he's like always talking about the battles versus Revan and how great he was. Yeah. So Revan ends up beating the Mandalorians, and then he ends up, I think, defeats them on Mount Core 5. I believe.
Yeah, Mount Core 5.
He kills Mandalore the Ultimate there. In the second game, KOTOR 2, you go to Mount Core 5 at the end. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's all like green and like, where you fight against the Trace Academy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But anyways, that's where he defeats Mandalorian leader. And then after that is where apparently he goes to the unknown regions. And, obviously the Emperor, he ends up taking his mind over or whatever, and then he becomes a Sith Lord. But you don't know about that in the KOTOR game. You always hear about in the second one, oh, he went to the unknown regions, and something happened to Revan. We don't know what happened to him. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But Revan, though, he's like ultimate like strategist for like war and stuff. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to. Yeah. He's a good duelist. He's a good fighter. He's balanced. He's perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
As all things should be. Yeah.
Yep. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, that was a tricky one. I thought you might put him on there, but
yeah, I knew that one may be tricky on that. So.
Okay, so my number 3, and this might be a surprise to you, Caleb, but
all right.
Ki-Adi-Mundi, I put him for number 3.
Yeah. Okay, that's a surprise. That's a surprise.
He used to be my number 1 when I was growing up. I always said Ki-Adi-Mundi was my favorite. What I liked about him was he's like one of the only other Jedi that
you didn't shock me as much because I know he wasn't your number 1, but I didn't think he was your number 3. Okay, I did not think he was your number 3.
So at first I was like, well, I always said he was my favorite, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, why do I actually like Ki-Adi-Mundi when I think about it? Yeah. So I liked him as a kid because in the movies he's like one of the side characters that actually talks. Like, none of the other Jedi really talk except for the main characters.
Right.
But Ki-Adi-Mundi actually says some stuff. He's like,
what about the attack on the Wookiees?
The
joint attack on the Wookiees.
And then in Lego Star Wars, I like that his Lego head was bigger than everybody else's.
Yeah. Well,
that was really cool.
He's got the thumb head.
Yeah, he's got a thumb head. Which I always liked that he had a big head, but I know you always thought it looked stupid.
Well, hey, maybe he has 2 brains, right? I think he's supposed to have like 2 brains.
Yeah, so what the lore actually is he has 2 brains.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he's like really smart. Each of his brains like connected with his lightsaber actually had 2 crystals in it. So he
really? Okay, I didn't know
each brain like connected with one of his crystals. And so well, actually what happened was they had a mistake in the movie. Like one scene he has a green lightsaber, another scene he has a blue lightsaber.
Wait, I did not catch this.
Yeah, so they were actually like, well, how do we like explain that? And then they decided, because he has 2 brains, they're like, so he actually has 2 crystals in his lightsaber. And he can actually change what color it is.
Yeah, because I always thought him as blue, but he had one point it was green. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, in one or 2 scenes, he has a green lightsaber.
That is cool. Okay, I gotta look for that next time.
Yeah, it's like a little fun fact.
Is that in Revenge of the Sith, or would that be Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, I think it's in Attack of the Clones.
Right, the whole battle scene.
Yeah, I think there's just so many people that they picked the wrong color for one of them.
And Geonosis.
Understandable.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
But the thing about him is, apparently, I watched this whole video about him. All these people actually don't like him at all. They're like, he's the worst Jedi ever.
Really?
He's a sociopath.
Oh, okay.
He has like no emotion. So the thing about him is he aligns himself with the Jedi code to the letter. So like everything about him is like...
So he's like really dogmatic.
Textbook Jedi, yeah.
So he's like when Darth Sidious is talking about dogmatic, he's talking about Ki-Adi-Mundi. Yeah.
And the thing is, like the planet he came from, the population is mostly female. There's only a couple male species. So each male species has to have like 5 wives or whatever to keep the population going.
Oh, really?
So he's like one of the Jedi that's allowed to have... he's allowed to be married. So he has like 5
wives.
I
heard about that.
And he has like 7 or 8 daughters or something. He doesn't have any sons. But his whole family gets killed in the Clone Wars. Like they all just get murdered. And apparently he's not sad about it at all. He like shows no emotion about it.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like pretty lousy.
So he is a sociopath.
Yeah, it kind of is. But I like that he represents the bad stuff about the Jedi and like just very dogmatic stuff about Jedi.
Right. Well, he's supposed to be number 3 on the Jedi Council. So
he's really powerful too.
Yeah, under Yoda and Mace Windu, he's like the 3rd powerhouse. So
so he's really smart and he's really powerful. He was the commander for the Galactic Marines.
Oh, okay.
It's like some of the elite clones he led.
Okay.
Which they ended up killing him in Order 66.
Right.
But it's partly why he like died so quick. Like he dodges a few blaster bolts and then he dies. But they're like supposed to be.
Well, he's so in shock.
Clones. Well, that too, but And I always thought it was so sad how he dies. He was like so.
I know.
He looks so betrayed.
It was probably one of the best scenes in the whole montage
so
of him dying. Yeah.
So yeah, I put him at number 3 because I was like, I couldn't justify putting him higher because I'm like,
well,
there's actually not that much stuff that is like redeeming about his character apart from like some stuff. But I think because I liked him for so long, I had to put him on there.
Right. I knew you moved him down, but I just know it was that low.
He's still one of my favorite Lego guys. I have a Lego of him.
Right. Yeah, well, he's actually pretty good in, I saw a little bit of the cartoon Clone Wars. The one before the whole TV series, there was like a movie they made.
Early one.
Yeah, and apparently, he was like really cool in that one, when they fight against General Grievous. General Grievous is like OP in that, though. He's like more powerful than any of the other things. He's like really fast. You don't know where he is. He's like crawling around the RNG notes.
I saw part of that too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I wish they kind of kept that. But
his character
cool.
in that was actually pretty cool, and then they ended up changing his character later on. So he kind of changes over time, but yeah. So number 3, Ki-Adi-Mundi for me.
All right, my number 2, Mace Windu.
Okay.
First of all, he's on the Jedi Council, and he's only second to Yoda. Okay, so he's a powerhouse. Personally, I think he was the best Jedi duelist in Star Wars, like, ever in history. I think he's better at dueling than Yoda in lightsaber combat. He created, with the help of Sora Bulk, his own variant of the lightsaber form 7 called Vapad, which allowed the user to take the dark side energy of their opponent and use it against them, which is partially why I think that he defeated Sidious. Which I think that's probably why, because Darth Sidious is such a dark side user. Mace Windu was really good at defending against.
It's like the perfect form to defeat Sidious, really.
Right, exactly. Also, his lightsaber is purple, which is awesome. The first character to ever have that. And I'm glad that Samuel L. Jackson talked to George Lucas about that. Yeah,
because he wasn't going to be in the movie, right?
Right. No, it wasn't going to be a purple. I think he was going to give him like a blue or something.
He was like, I'll play in Star Wars if you give me a purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
He's like, fine, I'll give you a purple lightsaber.
Which is cool. Anyways, Mace Windu, though, I mean, I just love the whole thing. He beats Darth Sidious, and then he gets betrayed by Anakin, which is like such a loss, because he's like my favorite character, and then not my favorite, but one of my favorites, and he gets defeated by Anakin like by betrayal, and that's like one of the worst betrayals. It's like his hand gets cut off, and then he gets thrown out the window by Darth Sidious. He electrocutes him, with lightning.
Now here's a question though: is he still alive?
I think he is. Just because the way they bring back Star Wars characters, he's got to be alive.
Unless you actually die on screen, you're not dead.
No, he's going to make another comeback. I mean, it's only his hand that got cut off, and he got,
thrown out of a 1,000-story building.
I know, but come on, Anakin Obi-Wan was fallen out of in episode 2, with this whole speeder chase thing on Coruscant, and he fell from how many miles up in the sky.
Yeah, but I guess he got caught though.
I don't know. Mace Windu though, he's more powerful, so I think he definitely survived.
Yeah, he might show up again at some point.
Yeah, so he's my number 2.
So my number 2 is going to be Obi-Wan.
Oh!
Obi-Wan Kenobi, number 2.
That actually shocked me.
So if you think about it, he's probably the best character from the prequels, in my opinion. Maybe top 3 at least.
He has probably the most dialogue besides Anakin, right?
Yeah, he has a lot of dialogue. And he does the most stuff, too. So he beats Maul. He basically should have lost that, but he beats Maul. And then he discovers the clones in the second movie. So he's, doing the whole investigation. I was that part. And then, obviously, he survives Order 66, which most people die. So he survives, so it shows that he's, pretty powerful. And then, of course, he beats Anakin. So he beats everybody. That's good. Actually, nobody beats Obi-Wan. Well, obviously Vader beats him, but only because Ben Kenobi, lets him.
He definitely lets him.
I always hate that part. He just lets him.
He just puts up his lightsaber, and he definitely let him.
I like that he was a Force ghost. He turns into a Force ghost at the end.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of extra lore for Obi-Wan, but when you think about the movies, you think about him a lot.
Now, do you like him more as Obi-Wan or when he turns to Ben Kenobi?
I actually like him as Ben Kenobi the most. He's kind of snarky.
Definitely his classic. Well, I mean, he's peppered at that. At that time, he's
jaded.
Yeah, he's seasoned.
Yeah. He's salted.
Yeah, he's salty. He's salty.
That's what I told you was true from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view.
I know, right?
But yeah, I think just because he's so powerful and pretty much never loses to anybody, he's always every situation he's clutch. He beats Grievous.
Wait, that is true.
He beats everybody.
That is true. And I heard somewhere he's supposed to the least amount of force powers of any Jedi. But yeah, he's so well trained. He's just he's very patient. He has all the good traits pretty much of a Jedi.
Okay, I guess you could say Count Dooku beats him.
Yeah, he does beat him.
But I guess he doesn't beat everybody. He doesn't lose. He doesn't die, obviously.
No.
He loses if it weren't for Yoda shows up.
Okay, you're right.
All right, so that's my number 2.
Okay.
I think I know who your number one is.
I guarantee you know it. If it was on my other part of my list, yeah, you obviously know what it is. Yeah. My number one is Kit Fisto.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. All right, so in Attack of the Clones, when he force pushes C-3PO and then smiles, come on.
Yeah, he's the best character.
Classic, seriously. That's what you think of. When you think of Kit Fisto, you think of that scene right there.
Yep, exactly.
Also, in Clone Wars, he goes toe-to-toe with General Grievous, which I remember seeing the scene a while back, and he, apparently, this is back even before Obi-Wan, fought him for, the last time in Revenge of the Sith, and he goes toe-to-toe with him, so, I mean, he's pretty powerful. He's also the only other Jedi besides Mace Windu who is able to block a few lightsaber attacks by Darth Sidious. All the other ones get stabbed right away. He actually blocks a few, which I always love that part. It's yes,
he blocks one or two attacks, and then
it's two or three,
and then he dies.
Yeah, then he dies, but come on, they're all caught off guard. Now, compared to the other two, obviously that was awesome. And then also he's a Natolian species, which can breathe underwater, so he's aquatic. And apparently he's actually a lot better underwater. So technically, when he fought Darth Sidious, he wasn't at his, full potential, because he wasn't underwater, so.
Palpatine should have fought him underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he definitely would have won.
Yeah. So, and also, I was watching the Clone Wars, and I happened to see I think the first episode of season 2, and where he goes into the holocron room, which Anakin's not allowed to go in because he's not Jedi Master. Yeah. So Kit Fisto was on was Jedi Master and on the Council, which Anakin wasn't. So yeah, there you go.
He's better than Darth Vader.
Yep. Yeah, he's always been my favorite.
So when we were kids, we just picked one Jedi. We're like, that's our favorite one.
Hey, he stayed. He stayed. Unlike you.
Yeah. Unlike mine. Not even when you dropped down.
But also that episode is pretty cool. One in the Clone Wars where Cad Bane tries to steal the holocrons. He ends up stealing it, and he gives it to Darth Sidious. But it was pretty cool. Yeah. So, yep, that was my number one.
So my number one, which is going to be a big shocker to you once again.
No, it's not.
My number one's going to be Kyle Katarn.
Yep.
Yeah, you knew it was going to be Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, so Kyle Katarn's my favorite. He's in Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. He's in a bunch of comics and books for after Episode 6, New Republic area. I like his arc. So he starts off, he goes into the Imperial Academy. He's a stormtrooper for a while.
Right,
and then he becomes an officer.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's actually in the Empire. And his father's he's proud of him and everything. But his father, Morgan, is actually a Rebel Alliance leader. But Kyle Katarn doesn't actually know that.
Okay.
He kind of knows it a little bit. But so basically he goes into the Imperial Academy, becomes an officer. And then his father actually gets murdered.
Okay.
He gets murdered by someone, but Kyle Katarn doesn't exactly know who. Obviously, he thinks that because he was a Rebel sympathizer that he got killed by an Empire or something. So he kind of has a different view towards the Empire after that. And he ends up defecting. So he quits. He leaves the Empire behind. He ends up just being like a mercenary.
Yeah.
So he does stuff for the Rebel Alliance. He does stuff for the Imperial Remnant. He kind of does stuff for both sides.
Well, I always liked that about Kyle Katarn. He was kind of his own guy. He did his own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when Luke later talks to him at the Jedi Academy, he knows that he's not really doesn't really want to join the Jedi Council or whatever. He just
exactly. So basically, then what happens is he kind of teaches himself how to become a Jedi. He knows he's Force sensitive, so he starts to learn out how to use the Force and lightsaber and stuff.
Yeah.
But then what happens is he figures out that Jarek, so it's like Darth Jarek, he's an Inquisitor. Basically, he was one that killed his father. So he figures it out, and then he wants to get revenge on him. But what happens is Jarek actually, he hears about this place called the Valley of the Jedi, which is basically that's where the thought bomb exploded.
Right.
The planet, I forget what the planet's name is, but in Darth Bane, basically,
Rusan. Yeah. At least in Darth Bane, it's called that. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thought bomb gets detonated there, which is what kills all the Jedi and all the Sith there.
Right.
And that one battle was thousands of years before that time. And it basically traps them there forever, pretty much.
It's such an awesome part, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is it actually creates a Force nexus, which is it's an area where the Force is super powerful and stuff. Yep. It's a spring of the Force.
Right.
So what happens is Jarek actually goes there to get the power from the nexus. He wants to become super powerful. And what happens is Kyle Katarn figures out where the Valley of the Jedi is. He goes there and he keeps him, he stops him, kills him. And then what happens is he actually frees the thought bomb. There's some prophecy or something that the Jedi was going to free them. Right. And so Kyle Katarn's actually that one that frees them.
That's
so
cool.
I always really like that part because there's that connection with Darth Bane. And
now my question is, what happened to the Sith that were in there? Like, did they?
Everybody gets released.
Yeah, but did they die? Because it's like they just die instantly.
I think so. Well, because some of the Jedi they can live right after that. I don't know what happens to the Sith though. I have no idea. What happens. Everybody gets freed pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
So then after that, he basically Luke Skywalker wants him to like be trained by him, and so Kyle Katarn says he agrees. So Luke Skywalker actually starts to train him. Oh, I forgot to mention that after he kills Jarek, he actually falls to the dark side.
Oh, okay.
So, but then his apprentice is actually Mara Jade, and Mara Jade like actually brings it back from the dark side. So then when he goes to get trained, he's like he doesn't want to get trained because he's afraid about falling to the dark side.
Jedi Outcast 2 starts, right? That's right where it starts. Yeah, I remember that because he's always like he doesn't really want to join it.
Right. So there's a bunch of students that fall to the dark side when he's training on Yavin 4. He ends up kind of getting afraid of that, and he cuts himself off from the Force, so he doesn't have the Force anymore. He just leaves. He gives his lightsaber to Luke Skywalker, and he just kind of goes back to being a mercenary. But what happens then after that is obviously Dasan comes, and he's trying to find the Valley of the Jedi again. Right. And he ends up killing Kyle Katarn's partner, Jan Ors. He pretends to kill her. So he's trying to bait Kyle Katarn going back to the Valley of the Jedi to get revenge. And then what he wants to do is figure out where the Valley of Jedi is so that he can take like a whole army of people there and basically like infuse them at the Force Nexus and become basically reborn. So they all become like Sith and stuff. So basically then...
The strong survive.
Yeah, so the strong survive.
Best villain in Jedi Outcast 2. He's awesome. Probably actually most Star Wars games. Probably one of the best villains. He's so intimidating.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But basically then Kyle Katarn has to, he goes back and goes to the Force Nexus and becomes a Jedi again. He gets the Force back after he cut himself off.
Right.
And then he basically has to get the lightsaber back from Luke Skywalker and to go after Dasan.
Right.
Then he figures out that Dasan went to the Valley of the Jedi, so he goes there and confronts him and basically stops
I love
him
that
there.
last level of Jedi Outcast 2 where you're trying to find your way to it. There's like a whole bunch of secret passages you have to get through. I like that one. Like traps and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really cool level.
Yeah. I played that level so many times because I couldn't get past certain spots.
Yeah.
And save it and stuff, but yeah, good level.
So then basically after that, he stays a Jedi. He becomes a Jedi Master. And then he does like a bunch of other stuff in the Legends canon, but so yeah, I like that he's kind of a gray Jedi. Like he does dark side and light side. Like he uses both powers.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say is that he can actually use lightning. That's what I like about the Legends. A lot of the Jedi could use lightning, especially later on. It's pretty cool. Or they could use Force Choke too. Like actually, Luke does it in Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, I mean honestly, all the best Jedi really, I think they figure out that there should be a balance that they can use the dark side and the light side, but they just they don't fall to the dark side or like get consumed by the dark side.
Well, I know even Plo Koon used I think yellow lightning. So no, there's definitely things you're not teaching me. Yeah,
exactly. So Kyle Katarn's gonna be my favorite. At first I was like, is he actually my favorite? Because I talk about him so much whenever I talk about Star Wars.
No, I knew he was your favorite. I know you didn't know that you knew he was favorite, but I knew that he was your favorite.
Yeah, I knew that you knew that. I thought it was gonna be number one. The thing is though, he's not actually canon anymore. He's still Legends. They haven't brought him back into the canon, but I mean,
he's canon in my book.
It's not my canon. Legends is my canon anyway. But I think they might bring him back at some point. I hope they bring him back at some point.
Right.
But
I think they will. I think at one point, at least if not Disney, someone else will. So
yep, that's mine. That's my top 5.
Yep.
All right. So then we both have. How many of mine did you get right? Because I have a guest list that I wrote down for what I thought yours was.
Okay, so I have a guest list too, but the only one that I know I got completely correct was the number 1. But you want to go first?
Yeah. All right. So you got my number 1 correct.
Yeah.
And I got your number 1 correct.
Yeah. Just like last time.
Same thing like our Sith.
Yeah. But I think you got more that were on my list.
So I guess Mace Windu for you, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Kit Fisto.
Yeah. I guess Jolie, Bindo, Luke Skywalker, Revan, Coyote-Mundi, and Kyle Katarn.
All right. So you actually guessed Coyote-Mundi and Luke Skywalker and Kyle Katarn. So we both had 3.
Yeah.
in the same spots. So actually, I had an exact tie.
Okay. Okay.
So we both get a point.
Yeah, we both get a point. Yeah, so this was a little trickier for me because I usually see Sith have more of a story than Jedi have.
Yeah.
But my top 2 were definitely the 2 I did on there. So Kit Fisto and Mace Windu. They've always been my top 2.
And I knew that Mace Windu was up there. I just forgot he was so high.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all the games I play. I always have a purple lightsaber. I always have to have like a purple lightsaber. If I played KOTOR, when I have 2 lightsabers, I have a green usually and a purple.
Yeah.
But I always have a purple. If it's red or purple or green or purple, it's pretty much that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. So, hey, good list. Good list.
Yeah, it was a fun list. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and stay tuned for some more videos coming up soon.
Thanks for listening.